Chosen one, can you feel it in the air? A silent sense of urgency, a deep desire to release, let go, detach. Maybe you don't even know exactly what is changing, but you know something is about to break. Fire, and this feeling is not random. September 17th will bring an energetic rupture with everything that can no longer follow you into this new spiritual phase. Warning: God is preparing a divine cut, but only those who have already awakened will be able to go through this moment with awareness. Relationships, patterns, habits, places, everything that vibrates out of harmony with your new frequency will be dismantled, with or without your permission. In this video, I will reveal to you, Cyclone, what is breaking spiritually on September 17th. Milky Way, why the chosen ones have been feeling so much weight in recent days. Key, how you can prepare to go through this rupture with lightness, clarity, and protection. Warning: this is one of those moments when the universe speaks, not with words, but with cuts. Stay until the end, because there you will understand why all of this is happening now and what comes after this rupture. You've been carrying yourself with grace, but beneath the surface, something tightens. A subtle unrest that creeps in during quiet moments. That ache in your shoulders, that sleepless pull at 3 a.m., that breath that doesn't quite feel full. These aren't just bodily quirks. They are messages, whispers from within, growing louder each time you pretend nothing's wrong. The new moon in Libra doesn't bring a storm. It brings a mirror, and this time, it's held to your own reflection. There's a part of you that believes things must look composed. You show up, smile, handle what's needed. But somewhere in that performance, your needs have been left behind. Harmony, when forced, turns brittle. What looks peaceful on the outside can mask a battlefield inside. Libra teaches that true balance begins when you stop faking it. And that begins with noticing. Where have you been stretching yourself too thin in the name of keeping peace? Old stories may rise, beliefs inherited or conditioned, saying your value lies in how well you endure, how little you need. But this lunation challenges that narrative. It asks if you're willing to choose softness without guilt. The body, after all, keeps score, not of your success, but of your suppression. Rest is not laziness. Saying no is not rejection. Slowing down is not failing. They're choices, and they start with one honest pause. This is not about abandoning responsibility, but about redrawing the lines where you've erased yourself. Libra brings the invitation to realign, but it's up to you to answer it. No cosmic event can heal what you still deny. So take a breath, not just one that fills your lungs, but one that reaches your truth. Because real balance isn't about appearing calm. It's about being whole. There's a strange kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from doing too much, but from being too much for too many, while ignoring yourself. You've mastered the art of saying, "I'm fine," with a steady voice and a tired smile. Yet your body, wiser than your words, has begun to betray the truth you've hidden. Libra's new moon doesn't demand a breakdown. It offers a recalibration, but only if you're brave enough to stop performing well-being and start living it. Not everyone will notice what you've been holding together, and maybe that's what stings the most. The quiet pressure to be pleasant, agreeable, easy to love, becomes a cage. It's not weakness to admit you're overwhelmed. It's honesty, and honesty is where balance begins. This lunation is not here to shame you for bending. It's here to remind you, you were never meant to disappear beneath the needs of others. Perhaps you were taught that strength looks like silence, that love requires sacrifice, that self-care is selfish. But those teachings are crumbling. Libra, as a sign, may crave harmony, but it also knows when justice must interrupt peace. And right now, justice begins with you. This is not about blame. It's about reclaiming. The part of you that aches, it's not broken. It's just asking for a seat at the table you set for everyone else. You don't need permission to prioritize yourself. You don't need a crisis to justify rest. You don't need to wait until it's unbearable to admit, this version of okay isn't enough. The new moon opens the door to gentler choices, but walking through it is yours alone. Choose presence over performance. Choose truth over tension. Choose to stop hurting just to keep looking healed. You were probably taught that health must be earned, that rest must be justified, that only through control, sacrifice, and relentless structure could balance be attained. But the Libra moon whispers a softer truth. Healing doesn't always come dressed as discipline. Sometimes it's found in the pleasure of slowing down, in allowing yourself the sweetness of simply being, without proving anything to anyone. And maybe, just maybe, you're allowed to feel good without guilt. There is medicine in beauty, not the kind others define for you, but the kind you recognize in a moment that feels safe, soft, and whole. A long exhale, a touch that doesn't demand, a word that lands gently and stays. These are not luxuries. They are sacred. You've spent so long mastering endurance that you've forgotten how restoration feels. This lunation isn't asking for effort. It's inviting surrender, not to weakness, but to wholeness. It's time to question the rules you followed like gospel. Who told you that joy must be earned through pain? Who made you believe that grace only arrives after grit? There's an older truth stirring now, one your body remembers even if your mind resists it. The kind that doesn't chase perfection, but invites peace. You've punished yourself long enough in the name of improvement. Now, the invitation is to soften, to trust what feels nourishing. If you've been waiting for permission to stop striving and start receiving, this is it. Not everything that heals you will look like effort. Sometimes, the most radical act is to choose ease, especially when you've been conditioned to expect struggle. Libra's gift is the balance you find when you stop measuring your worth by how hard you work to feel worthy. Let gentleness be your new ritual. Let softness be your strength. You've been conditioned to believe that healing is a battlefield, that only through rigid routines, relentless accountability, and perfect habits will you be good enough to deserve wellness. But this new moon in Libra arrives with a question that interrupts the loop. What if healing doesn't have to be earned? What if it's not a reward, but a right? That tension in your neck, that subtle ache behind your eyes, they aren't punishments. They're reminders, whispers, the body's way of asking you to try softer, not harder. There's a kind of restoration that doesn't come from supplements or sweat, but from soul. The kind you find in laughter that takes you by surprise. In the simple grace of being heard without being fixed. In the slowness of afternoons that don't demand. Libra invites you to revisit the meaning of balance, not as performance, but as presence. The old formula, force, then rest, is dissolving. Now, the path opens through permission, to feel, to enjoy, to receive without proving your worth. What part of you still thinks softness makes you weak? Who taught you to mistrust pleasure, as if delight could somehow undo your growth? The truth is, you don't need to be broken to be deserving of care. You don't need to reach burnout to justify stopping. This lunar transit asks for grace over grit. Not because you're giving up, but because you're remembering a deeper wisdom. Harmony is not built on sacrifice, but on integration. Your body already knows what your mind keeps resisting. That healing is an art of listening, not commanding. That some of the most powerful medicines are made of moments, not molecules. A smile that doesn't need a reason. A walk with no destination. A breath that returns you to yourself. Under Libra's gaze, this is not indulgence, it's alignment. And if there's a gentleness you've denied yourself for far too long, this is your sign to let it in. You followed all the right steps. Watched your diet, tracked your habits, honored your schedule like a ritual of discipline. But there's a quiet unrest underneath it all, a restlessness that no green juice or yoga class can soothe. Because beneath the surface, something else pulses. A truth unsaid, a sadness untouched. The body doesn't lie, even when your mouth insists you're fine. Libra's moon holds up the mirror, and this time, it's emotional honesty that's being weighed. Wellness isn't found in perfection. It lives in the unfiltered, the unspoken, the suppressed sighs and silent wishes. Emotional hunger is not healed through physical routines. That shoulder pain, that shallow breath, they carry stories your mind didn't dare translate, but your body remembers. Always. The new moon calls not for another self-help plan, but for a confrontation, gentle, yet unwavering, with what's been locked inside. You were never meant to hold it all together in silence. Balance, as Libra teaches, is not about smiling while you bleed. It's about allowing both the grace and the grief, the peace and the protest. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to stop pretending that numbness is neutrality. Maybe your stillness isn't calm. Maybe it's fatigue from years of emotional hiding. And the cure you seek? It's not outside. It's not structured. It's raw, honest, yours. There's no pill for withheld tears, no supplement for longing. The body is a container of truths, and healing begins when you choose to stop censoring your own soul. What if the tension in your gut is the weight of all the words you never said? What if your healing begins the moment you admit you're tired of pretending? This new moon doesn't demand a performance, it invites a release. Not because you're broken, but because you're finally ready to feel whole. There's a difference between functioning and feeling, between checking off tasks and actually being present in your life. You've done everything right, yet something remains hollow, as if your heart keeps knocking from the inside, asking for permission to speak. But you silence it. You smile. You power through. Libra, now waning into her new moon form, whispers, what you suppress doesn't disappear. It transforms into fatigue, tightness, detachment. There are tears you've postponed, conversations you've rehearsed but never voiced. You've become skilled in holding space for everyone except yourself. The weight of unspoken truths sits in your chest like an invisible anchor. And your body, so loyal, so patient, has been translating this into signals. Tight shoulders, restless nights, shallow breaths. You've mistaken emotional avoidance for strength. But healing begins with expression, not endurance. This lunar transit isn't about confrontation for drama's sake. It's about giving your emotional body a chance to finally breathe. Anger isn't your enemy. It's the boundary you never felt safe enough to express. Longing isn't weakness. It's the map back to what matters. The new moon in Libra doesn't demand chaos. It offers harmony, if you're willing to let your truth take up space. Wholeness doesn't come from image. It comes from integrity. Ask yourself, when did you start believing your pain was inconvenient? That your desires were too much? There is a younger version of you still waiting to be validated, not with words, but with attention. The body holds the script, but your awareness rewrites the story. This isn't about fixing anything. It's about listening differently, feeling without filter, choosing, just for tonight, to stop hiding from what's real and letting that be enough to begin. Maybe you were taught that healing had to hurt, that only through sacrifice comes worth. You pushed yourself, made progress, yet somewhere in the quiet, your breath became shallow. The Libra new moon doesn't shout for change, it invites it. Not through force, but through balance, through beauty, through the art of coming home to yourself without punishment. This moment is not about proving anything. It's about remembering what feels like peace. You've lived long enough in the tension of should be better, should do more. But what if your health doesn't ask for more effort, just more affection? There's wisdom in softness. There's restoration in ritual, not the rigid kind, but the kind that feels like silk on skin and music at sunrise. Libra asks, what would it be like to choose health the way one chooses art? Not as obligation, but as devotion. Perhaps there is a new rhythm waiting to be born, one not inherited from fear or control. A rhythm that listens before it moves, that pauses, that paints your morning with colors you actually want to see. You don't have to keep pretending that grit alone is noble. Grace is also medicine, and this transit is a door, not just to feel better, but to feel whole. Not to fix a flaw, but to celebrate what's still alive in you. So ask yourself, without guilt, without needing permission, what would care look like if it came without cost? What if the return to your vitality didn't require burning bridges or burning out? The new moon marks a beginning, yes, but not the beginning of pressure. The beginning of a new agreement, one where wellness and joy are not opposites, but partners. There's a part of you that remembers who you were before the rush, before the demands, before wellness became another box to check. That version of you didn't chase healing. It happened gently, like sunlight through leaves. The Libra new moon is a gentle pull, not a command. It reminds you that harmony is not earned through tension, but allowed through trust. This isn't about returning to who you were. It's about meeting who you are now, with softness. Perhaps the discipline you need most is the courage to rest, not as a reward, but as a right. Rest that doesn't feel lazy, but sacred. Movements that don't punish the body, but honor it. Choices that don't come from guilt, but from grace. This lunation is a mirror, showing where you've worn strength as armor. And gently, it asks, is it time to lay it down? You're not here to perfect yourself. You're here to experience what it means to be whole. That means allowing the joy of warm tea, slow mornings, and laughter that shakes your ribs. It means choosing relationships that nourish instead of deplete. Health isn't just absence of illness, it's the presence of peace. Libra whispers, make beauty a part of your medicine. Pleasure doesn't dilute your power, it restores it. So breathe, and let that breath be your beginning. You don't have to build a new life overnight. Just start where it hurts, and choose one small act of kindness for your body, your mind, your spirit. That's the initiation. That's the invitation. Under this new moon, healing isn't another project. It's the sacred permission to feel good without needing to suffer first. There comes a time when wellness stops being about routines and starts being about reverence. This new moon in Libra doesn't just tap into your habits, it reaches into your alignment. Somewhere, beneath the appointments and expectations, you know the truth. Health is not just biology, it's biography. What you've endured lives in your joints. What you've silenced hides in your gut. And what you've avoided whispers through your fatigue. Your body has always been honest, even when your words haven't. Libra invites you to listen, not to fix, but to witness. The aches, the cravings, the weariness, they all carry messages, not malfunctions. What if healing meant coming home, not doing more? What if your tiredness wasn't weakness, but wisdom? Something inside you wants to stop pretending and start honoring. The first step isn't another supplement. It's surrender. The architecture of well-being isn't rigid. It's relational. Harmony comes when the internal and external selves speak the same language. When you stop outsourcing your intuition and start consulting your own breath. This lunation says, you don't need more willpower. You need more willingness to be soft with yourself. The world may applaud your strength, but it's your stillness that will realign you. So you stand at a threshold, not of effort, but of embodiment. Will you treat your body as an opponent to conquer or a sanctuary to return to? This isn't about perfection, it's about presence. Under this sky, wellness becomes sacred again, not through performance, but through intimacy. And in that space, a deeper truth emerges. Your purpose doesn't begin in the mind. It begins in the skin you live in. You've been taught to chase health like it's something outside of you. Numbers, goals, routines. Yet, beneath all of that, a quieter invitation exists to come back. Not to perfection, but to presence. This Libra new moon softens the edges of striving and replaces them with stillness. It doesn't ask you to achieve balance. It asks you to become it. To listen, not to fix. To feel, not to flee. Sometimes, the body breaks its silence through discomfort, not as punishment, but as prophecy. A pain that keeps returning. A fatigue that doesn't make sense. These are not errors in your system. They're signals. Libra's grace isn't loud. It's the gentle recalibration of truth. What you ignore magnifies. What you meet with honesty begins to dissolve. The question is not what hurts. It's what that hurt is trying to restore. Wellness, in this phase, is no longer about maintenance. It's about meaning. The rituals you choose, the nourishment you offer, the breath you actually feel, these shape your inner altar. This moon isn't just new in the sky. It asks you to begin again inside your own skin. Real health doesn't scream. It hums. It aligns. And in this realignment, you begin to remember the body's original role, not to be controlled, but to be honored. As you stand in this moment, ask yourself, are you punishing your body for feeling or partnering with it to heal? This is not about guilt. It's about grace, a sacred reset that begins with one truth. Healing isn't something you earn, it's something you allow. Under this Libra moon, peace becomes the medicine, and your willingness to receive it is the ritual that changes everything.